I'm Kev, that's Sheepdog, and together we're on a mission to find the best thing from every city in the UK. Today we're in Milton Keynes, one of 8 cities created last year as part of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations, with the city being best known for concrete cows, roundabouts, stealing a football team and having the biggest Asda in the UK. This one has the potential to be a tough trip, but we're going in with open minds and determination to prove it can't be as bad as everyone keeps telling us. I hope you haven't stopped filming there. With that in mind, we didn't get off to the best of starts. We headed straight for the concrete cows, where we were hit with a double whammy of them being really hard to access because there's no parking nearby. And then when we eventually did abandon the car, the cows themselves were fenced off and painted plain white as they're in the middle of being renovated. This is what they're supposed to look like when they're fully painted. What we saw were closer to concrete sheep. Or maybe polar bears. We got a good look at them from all angles though, as we aim to justify going 20 minutes out of our way to find them. And you know what? There's no way I could have gone to Milton Keynes and not seen the cows, so it was all worth it. From there, we headed to an actual legitimate tourist attraction and somewhere I've been wanting to go for years. Bletchley Park. Considering both of us are programmers with computer science degrees and are former computing teachers who only live about an hour away, it's baffling that neither of us have ever been here before, at least on a school trip, but somehow we've both avoided it. And if you're not familiar with Bletchley Park, it's basically a big old mansion that turned into the code-breaking centre of the world, or at least the goodies, during the Second World War. If you've seen The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch, it's that place. The entire place was kept secret until the mid-70s, was almost demolished in the 90s, and wasn't open to the public until 2014 when the current museum was opened. In addition to a very snazzy visitor centre full of interactive displays, several of the huts have been rebuilt to appear as they did during the wartime operations, and they've moved some new neighbours in, with entry to the National Museum of Computing and the National Radio Centre both included within the entry price. If you've got any interest at all in computing, history, war, or bubble waffles, then there's definitely something for you at Bletchley Park, and the tickets are great value too. It cost us £25 to get in, but that actually buys you an annual pass. So if you're near enough to come back throughout the year, you can pop back for events and new exhibitions as they happen, or just break everything down into a few trips rather than doing it all in one go. We were in there a good couple of hours and barely scratched the surface. You could easily spend an entire day in there, or justify multiple trips throughout the year. Plus, free parking and water refill points within the museum are big pluses too. Our next stop was Xscape Milton Keynes. Not escaping Milton Keynes, as several people suggested when I asked what the best thing from was on Twitter before the trip, but Xscape. Xscape Milton Keynes is a massive leisure facility in the city centre that includes a 170-metre long real snow ski slope, a 16-screen cinema, an indoor skydiving centre, a few shops, loads of restaurants, a casino, adventure golf, escape rooms, a bowling alley, a gym, and a trampoline park. It's all housed within an enormous 44-metre high building, the second tallest building in the entire city, and it's surrounded by car parks, several local bus routes, and isn't far from Milton Keynes Central Station. This place is absolutely rammed with things to do. I refuse to believe it's possible for somebody to get bored in Milton Keynes unless they've just decided to never visit this place under any circumstances. Seriously, as someone who grew up in Peterborough, a city that genuinely has very little to do, this place blows my mind. I remember all we wanted when I was a teenager was a way to get to the bowling alley or the cinema without having to get a lift from our parents, because the buses didn't even go out to those places, and they were just about the only options. I would have given anything to have a place like this nearby, and I would have been in it every single weekend and several evenings a week after school. It seems like a ridiculous sentence to say on a travel video, but I actually think you could have a really nice 4 or 5 day long family holiday just booking yourself into the Premier Inn next door and never venturing further than Xscape. You'd have a different restaurant to eat in every night and more activities to do during the day than centre parks, for way less money and less walking too. There's no way we could have tried every activity Xscape has to offer, so we narrowed it down to just the ones we'd never done before, which left us with escape rooms, skydiving, and skiing. We quickly eliminated escape rooms because you can do them anywhere, and we were ruled out of skydiving for being too chunky. So we got ourselves booked in for the most basic, cheapest, least scary entry-level activity at Snozone, the real snow ski slope, which turned out to be a 30-minute family fun sledging session for only £10 per person, which seems like a massive bargain for such a unique experience. how many places in the UK can you go sledging on real snow in July? There were a few rules and recommendations we had to follow to be allowed to take part. They were very strict about us needing long trousers, long sleeves and gloves. They won't let you in without those as a minimum. And it actually is genuinely cold in there. They're not kidding about it being real snow. So no matter how hot it is outside, you wouldn't want to go in without gloves or a coat anyway. It's also compulsory to wear a helmet at all times out on the slope, and they provide loads of those to borrow as part of the entry fee. Or if you're really extra, you can buy your own starting at around £20. They also recommend, but don't insist on, waterproof shoes, trousers and coat because real snow is wet and you'll absolutely end up rolling around in it. I just wore my usual winter boots and coat and picked up some waterproof trousers from Mountain Warehouse for less than £20 because I didn't want to be stuck in wet trousers for the rest of the day. Sheepdog decided not to bother with the trousers and very quickly discovered just how much water a pair of jeans can soak up. If you don't have any of this stuff or you forget to bring it with you, there is a massive ski, snowboard and general outdoor adventuring stop next door to Snozone, but be warned, it's not cheap. We saw ski boots in their sale for £300 and just didn't dare to look at the prices on much else. We booked our session a few days in advance, and in addition to all the stuff they tell you to bring with you, they also ask you to arrive 30 minutes early to give yourself time to get changed into it all so you don't miss your slot. There's a small changing room to use, but it's basically just a bench in a small room. You wouldn't want to be changing your entire outfit in there. So I think my method of just putting waterproofs over what I was already wearing is the way to go. Also, don't forget to bring a £1 coin for the lockers. That's the only way you can use them, and you can't wear bags or things like that out on the snow. You can, though, take your phone or camera out there, and they actually encourage people to film and photograph their session, which is a refreshing change from being told to put my camera away. With both of us being autistic, of course we arrived 60 minutes early rather than 30, which was way too early, and the first time we went out on the snow we were told to head back in and wait for our slot because the sledging only happens at certain times during the day. Luckily, there's a nice alpine cafe to pass the time in with some good views of the slope. It's ideal for parents watching their kids, as well as nerds like us who can't follow simple instructions. And despite never usually drinking them, I had a hot chocolate because I figured that's what people who ski drink. And then I fell down some stairs next to a slippery floor sign, which I'm 100% blaming on the hot chocolate. When we finally got out onto the snow, we had a quick safety demonstration before being pointed towards our tiny child-sized sledges and being let loose on the slope. Seriously, these sledges were no larger than a baking tray. They're a long way from the ones we've all got in our garages from that couple of days every few years when it snows enough for us to need them, and every petrol station suddenly has them in stock inexplicably, and we all buy them because we can't find the one that we had last time. I don't know, do they just keep them in stock out the back all the time just in case? I don't understand. But the sledging itself was loads of fun. Surprisingly, we both fit on the tiny sledges just fine, and they pick up some serious speed heading down the slope, which doesn't really level out at the bottom either. So if you don't dig your heels into the snow when you get to the bottom, you are going to end up smashing into the wall. We had a practice run together before doing our official filmed runs. Mine was, of course, faultless, but you'll never know for sure because somehow Sheepdog didn't press record on the camera, which is probably for the best because as I got up after my perfect run, I fell face first back into the snow because of a complicated situation involving my jeans, my waterproof trousers, and my big heavy boots. Sheepdog managed to avoid falling over at all, but still got nice and wet and also seemed incapable of keeping his sledge moving in a straight line. And then we finally got one of my runs on film as Sheepdog learned how to use the camera. Oh, it goes fast if you don't stop yourself. Easy. But I very nearly fell over again because I'm just not cut out for physical activities. In fact, neither of us are, and despite paying for a 30-minute session and thoroughly enjoying ourselves, we both tapped out after our third runs about 15 minutes in, very out of breath, very wet, and very afraid that we'd pushed our luck far enough, and if we kept going, one of us was going to get hurt. We had one more activity planned for our day in Milton Keynes, a lovely Sunday afternoon stroll around Campbell Park. And yes, that's right, this is the first Best Thing From episode where we haven't once set foot in the actual city centre. But having been to MK before, I'm not sure we were missing much. But when we got to Campbell Park, the gates to the car park were shut. We didn't think you'd believe us, so we actually took this photo to prove it. We weren't just too lazy to go for a walk, we genuinely couldn't get in. So, thinking on our feet, we decided on a slight detour on the way home at the Watford Gap service station, the official home of the North-South divide in England, and spent a few minutes of fun enjoying jumping back and forth between the North and South, because we're basically just 9-year-olds in handsome adult bodies. And that was Milton Keynes. If you're looking for more details or more vlog style content on any of the things we got up to, don't worry, that's all still here on the channel. We just released them as standalone videos over the last few days, and you can watch all of it in the Milton Keynes playlist that I'll link to down below. There'll also be lots more to say about MK and the Best Thing from Milton Keynes companion podcast. That'll be out on the channel this time tomorrow. But until then, what did you think the best thing from Milton Keynes is? Did we miss anything out? Was it better or worse than you expected? Let us know down in the comments section. And while you're down there, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or even if you didn't, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on next month's city, Cambridge. Thanks for watching, folks.